Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us today for this live stream event. My name is Alexia, and I am the program manager of the Microsoft Reactor Toronto. I will be sharing session resources with you in the chat, but before we begin, I'd like to quickly review two items, our code of conduct and event guidelines. First, please take a moment to review our code of conduct. Microsoft Reactor seeks to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. And secondly, our event guidelines. The session is being recorded and will be available on demand through the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel in about 24 to 48 hours. I'll be sharing the link in the chat for our on-demand content. And if you have not been on a live stream through YouTube before, please note that you must create an account on YouTube in order to have access and interact in the chat. You can set that up now. And if you're unable to use the chat but have questions, feel free to reach out to us through social media or on our website. Which finally brings us to today's session. I'm going to bring in a speaker here for today, Bethany and Julia. Hello, hello.
Hey, Alexia. Good being on the show. Hi, Bethany.
Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome back on the Reactor. And thank you all who moved from one stream to the other. We appreciate it. And apologies about the technical difficulties. But yeah, excited to have this session kickstarting. And yeah, let's get started.
Sure. Thank you so much, Alexia. As she's mentioned, sorry about the technical issues that happened before. So please, if you had folks joining or are still on the other call, please just share this new link with them and then we'll get started. So thank you all so much for your patience. We're excited to share with you all about this new program. So I have Bethany with me. So Bethany, do you mind doing a quick introduction before we start?
Yeah, hi everyone. I am Bethany, as Julia has mentioned. I am a cloud advocate here at Microsoft, working with the AI team, and I'm so happy for you to experience what we've been working on for the past, I'm guessing, 1 or 2 months. So
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Good having you on the show. My name is Julia. I'm also a cloud advocate here at Microsoft. I work specifically in the JavaScript team. So my team ensures that we have a very clear path for JavaScript developers to build successfully on AI and now on AI Foundry, on Azure and on AI Foundry. So that's what you're going to be learning all about throughout this Buildathon. And I know that when it comes to the conversation of building AI applications, you may be tempted to think that you're only limited to working with Python. I think Python is the most popular language when it comes to building with or building AI. So at the end of this Buildathon, you'll actually see that there's a very clear path for you as JavaScript or TypeScript developers. It's a really powerful language. So there's so much you can do with this language when it comes to AI. And we are hoping that throughout this program, you're going to experience that firsthand. So we'll get started in the interest of time. So Bethany, could you tell us more about what this program is? Then we can just continue from there.
Yeah, so when you're building a project, the idea was how can we be able to have you go in and build different components of AI into your JavaScript journey. So we realized there's a lot of content out there, but it does not integrate directly to you going in and building your own projects. So we decided to have 9 different quests. We have very unique 9 hands-on quests where you get started with AI as a JavaScript developer. So we start slow with probably just building a small prototype with JavaScript using GitHub models. And then from there, you grow and grow and grow. So we have different components of AI. If you want to do RAG, if you want to do agents, if you want to integrate different frameworks, all these are found on between the first and the 9th quest. And then something else we did was we realized people study well together, right? So we decided to bring in the student ambassadors, that is the Microsoft Learn student ambassadors, to be able to now host different study jams, self-paced in their own communities. But then you might not also be a university student. So we also did it in a way that you can do this self-paced. And we'll be doing it from today, that's the 9th of June, all the way till the 30th. And some of the technologies we'll cover, I've just mentioned GitHub models, but we'll also have other technologies we'll cover, different Visual Studio Code extensions. So the ideal thing is to have Visual Studio Code installed, and then we'll have different extensions such as the Azure AI Foundry extension, we'll have the AI Toolkit extension, and then we'll also be doing the GenAIScript extension. I got to learn about it when we were doing the project, so it's something also new to me. And then other than the different extensions, we'll also interact with GitHub, we'll also interact with Azure AI Foundry, the Azure Developer CLI, and so much more, including frameworks like LangChain.js. So over to you, Julia. What will be the
Awesome.
timeline for this program be?
Yeah. I'm seeing an interesting question on the chat from Sarita Gupta. So they're asking like, why is there no Hindi live stream? But so just to answer that, we have this amazing study jam. So you'll actually find a study jam that is right next to you, probably speaking the same language as you. English is not your first language, but we'll get to that. So if you could bear with us as we proceed with the presentation, we're going to talk more about opportunities that you have to interact with your local community going through this program. So as Bethany has mentioned, just think of the Buildathon as a consolidation of hands-on exercises for you to start building with AI. That's basically all it is. And this is how the timeline looks like for you between now, that's June 9th, all the way to the 30th of June. So this will be a 3-week program. So as you can see here on this timeline, this is where we are. We're on the launch, and then we're going to go into the setup. So you'll be setting up your environment. As I mentioned, this is completely hands-on. So you're going to set up a working environment and then proceed from there. We'll definitely show you how to go about that. And then you'll see that we have 9 different quests. So the quest is like a challenge or like an activity that you need to complete, each focusing on a specific technology or a specific concept that you need to at least grasp when you enter this workforce that requires you to have some AI knowledge. And so this is basically how we distributed them throughout the 3 weeks. As you can see, we have like 1 or 2 day intervals between the different quests. This is to ensure that you have enough time to really dig into the concepts. And with that, we're actually just going to go straight into the demos and show you exactly how your experience will be. In the meantime, I'll request Alexa to just drop a link to our GitHub repository. That will be your main working spot. So this is where you're actually going to find all the information. You'll find everything that you need to actually get started. Then once we're done with the program on the 30th of June, we are going to meet back here on this stream. And then we're going to showcase some of the amazing projects and some of the cool integrations that we'll all have built. And if you actually build something cool, we'll actually give you some time to actually do some live presentation and demos of what you have created. So stay tuned for all of that, and definitely have a lot more to share. So with that, we're just going to get straight into where you get started. So I see the link has been shared on the chat. That link will take you directly to our GitHub repository. And then the first thing you're going to do, of course, is to set up your environment, right? And so for that, I'm actually going to switch to my browser. So I'm going to switch to my browser. I will land on the repository. So this is where you're going to end up. And then I'm going to walk you through how the setup process is going to look like. So you'll find our repository here. It has the timeline, so you can always be up to speed in terms of where you are and what quests you have remaining. Then we have a short description here of what you expect by the time you're done with the Buildathon. And then we have this section here, the how to get started section. So this section contains the instructions of how you need to set up your own individual sort of workspace, right? And so we have some instructions here. We have this start course button that you need to click on. And let me just copy this. I'm going to right click and open this in a new tab. So I'm going to say start course. This will prompt me to create a new repository. I will select my GitHub account. And then basically you're just going to provide a name for the Buildathon, for your repository. Now, I already have one that is called JS AI Build-a-thon, so I'm just going to give it a different name. And then this is very important. Ensure that you set your repository to be public. This is really, really key, because we've designed this repo in a way that it will actually automate some of the tasks for you. And for this, you're going to need to use GitHub Actions. So you're going to have a very limited capacity if you're running a private repository. So for the sake of this Buildathon, once you start the course, ensure that you select it to be public and then create a repository. So once you do that, if I go back on the main repo, you'll see that we have this instruction here. Once you create a repository, wait for about 20 seconds and then refresh your page. Why is that so? As I mentioned before, we have tried to automate this as much as we can. So once you wait for the 20 seconds, what will happen behind the scenes is we have a GitHub action that will actually be updating your README as you proceed. So in this case, if I go back to the repository that I've just created, you'll see that just by creating the repo, I triggered a GitHub action. And if I refresh this page, you will see that I now get this welcome message. So that was this was actually automated behind the scenes using GitHub Actions. It will again give me a quick summary of what to do. And then you have this how it works section. Now this is really, really important because this section gives you the complete view of what you're expected to do for each quest, right? As I said, we've tried to automate this as much as possible. So we have very specific instructions, which if you miss them, most likely something might not work as it's supposed to. So after you go through that section, you now get to see the list of available quests for you. Let me just zoom in. So you'll see we have all the 9 quests that are listed down for you here, and then you can now begin the quest, right? So that's basically all you need to do to set up your working environment. I think that's fairly easy, but if you get stuck, we do have our Discord community. We'll share a link to that as well, and we can always help you out. Now, if you want a summary of these setup steps, we do have a blog that now provides the steps that I've just explained to you in detail. And so you can basically just also access this from the link that will be shared in the chat. This will be able to successfully set up your environment and start working on your repo. So with that, we're now just going to mention briefly about each and every quest, what you expect to complete, all the activities. So with that, I will hand it back to Bethany, and you can just give us a quick overview of the first quest. I'm going to try and find my slides.
Okay, I think I'll share my screen for this. But as Julia mentioned, we'll be having 9 different quests, and she's done an overview of the setup, how you can be able to now get started and set up your environment ready for the quest. As she's mentioned, we have a blog for it, as well as videos that you can be able to go back and look into and now start your quest, right? For the second, no, today is 9th. So today is our first quest. And for our first quest, we have a blog post for it. And in this blog post, it explains to you what exactly you need to do to be able to successfully run the quest. So you have the instructions. So the idea is we're building a local GenAI prototype. The idea is how can we go in and try and build something simple that can just technically respond to a question. So we ask it a question and gives us a response. So for this quest, you will need a GitHub account, Visual Studio Code installed. We're doing JavaScript, so you'll also need Node.js installed. And in this quest, we'll be using the AI Toolkit extension. So those are the prerequisites. It will be in every quest, a checklist of what exactly you need, and also an explanation of what exactly are the tools you're using. So for example, the GitHub model, the reason why you're using a GitHub account is because you need GitHub models, and it explains to you what exactly a GitHub models, how you can be able to get started with it, going through the GitHub models playground, which is similar to most of the GenAI playgrounds you've seen. And then you can now go in and bring in your AI to your GitHub models AI implementation into your application. So you'll build a simple sample.js file where we now implement what we did in GitHub Copilot, in GitHub Models Playground. These names are confusing. So we'll go in to our playground, export. This is the button you'll click. So you'll go in, export your LLM into now your local environment, which is Visual Studio Code, and bring in your code into your application. And then the idea is, how else can you innovate around it? How else can you build more things around it? So you can go ahead and follow the instructions and then go in and try something else. So if the instructions is, okay, can you be able to use language model to generate a response from something, you can go in and implement audio models, you can go in and implement images, how can you upload images and get responses from them. So once you go into your code space, the next thing we want you to do is experiment with the AI Toolkit extension. So this extension, it will look something like this once it is installed. And the idea behind it is, now how can you use the GitHub models that are on GitHub? How can you also use them locally in your VS Code? And then we'll have an activity. As with any good hands-on practice, it's not good for you to just see and learn, but it's also good for you to do things on your own because it's hands-on. So you'll have a hands-on activity where you build something similar to this, something similar to the Contoso Outdoor Company experience. And the idea is, how can you experiment with it? You have an image that you're uploading with the different examples of how a landing page will be. You upload it and it will help you generate something simple. So how can you improve on it using GitHub Copilot to make it better? And that will be it. That will be it for a request, an idea of the different tools, an example of how you can implement them, and then at the end, an activity of, okay, you've gone through the entire thing. How can you now do an activity to ensure you solidify your knowledge? So back to you, Julia. Maybe you can now show us how exactly a quest will look like. So maybe you can also share your screen.
Sure. So Alexia, you can switch back to my screen, and just to summarize like what Bethany has shown on the blog, you'll actually see like a list of resources. So at the end, remember that this Buildathon is designed to introduce you to this concept. So for example, if you've never interacted with these language models, well, apart from ChatGPT, which I'm assuming we've all used at some point, you can now get in with just a GitHub account, no cloud required. You don't need to like configure any credit card details. With just a GitHub account, you're able to access a very rich catalog of models from different providers, cutting across different use cases. And so with this, you'll be able to experiment with different models, try to change the parameters, see how they respond to different tasks. This way, it will give you an understanding and a better idea of how these models are used in production use cases. And then for each quest, we have the list of resources for you to actually take it a step further and then just kind of access more resources to help you grasp the idea even better. So just to show you exactly how your experience will be when you start interacting with these different quests. So at this point, we have started the course and we have set up our work environment. Now I'll scroll down to the select quest section. Now here, the recommendation is to actually start the quests in order. This is because every single quest at some point builds on top of what you learned in the previous quest. So it will make most sense if you follow them sequentially. This way you'll be able to just add on top of what you keep learning. So let's take this example where I now want to start from the top. I want to build a local GenAI prototype, just similar to what Bethany has described. So I'm going to select the quest by clicking on it. And then once I click on that, it will direct me to the issues. And then this is the quest that I have selected. I want to build a local GenAI prototype. And then I'm basically just going to create this issue. Now, once you hit the create button, you see here that we have some instructions. Again, please wait for about 15 seconds. And then this issue will automatically close and the README will be updated with the quest that you have selected. So I know this may feel more than 15 seconds in some cases, but kindly bear with the process. As you've seen, that took, I think, a little shy of 15 seconds, and GitHub Actions actually updated the README. So this way, you'll ensure that anytime you're landing on your repository, you have the most up-to-date quest. So if you've seen that we have this timeline, so you'll be working and you'll be able to track your progress, given that your README will always reflect the current quest you're on. So from here, you'll see that my quest was actually updated. I can easily access it from here. So if I hit the README, it will take me back to my repo, but you'll see I no longer have the welcome page. I now have the quest already loaded on my repository. And you can see that's really part of the main repo. So on the main README. So anytime I land on my repository, this is what I'm going to see, and I'm going to remember exactly where I left off while working through the Buildathon. So as Bethany mentioned, you have like these different steps. We have this recommendation. Kindly open, like if there's a link or if there's a reference to any external service, try and open it in a new tab. The reason is because you need to have this page available to keep referencing the steps. So like in this case, I want to learn about GitHub models. And as you can see here, it's very descriptive, it's very comprehensive. By the time you're done with this quest, you have like all there is to know about this particular offering. So if I right click on GitHub models here, and if you're using Edge, you can actually just use the built-in split screen feature. So I can split the screen, and then I can have GitHub models running on one tab, and then I can have my instructions on the other tab, and I can just see them side by side and be able to easily just move through the instructions. And as I see them, as you can see, it's very hands-on. So there's almost something that you need to do for each and every step. And then I'm just going to scroll past. So this is the entire quest. And then for each quest, we have this activity section, right? And if I'm moving too fast, just let me know on the chat, and I can try and speak a little bit slower. So we have the activity. So each quest will have an activity, and this is what you need to complete for that GitHub action to automatically progress you to the next step, right? So remember, we're moving sequentially. So now you've done the first quest. So these are the steps that you need to complete. And I'm going to show you how that experience will also look like. I'm going to switch back to my slides. And then the assumption here is that I've gone through quest 1 and I have completed the exercises that have been provided. So the next step, as you can see, the task was to convert a hand-drawn sketch to a website. So the task is I need to have a sample.js file. I confirm that I have it, and it must reference the GitHub token environment variable, which it does. Once you meet the items on the checklist for each quest, then you just basically need to add your changes, you need to commit them, and then you need to push. Once you push your code, you basically wait again for 15 seconds, and then when you refresh your repository, it's going to bump you up to the next quest. So as you can see, this is very customized. So you might find that in your study jam, we have someone on a different quest, and their README will actually reflect exactly where they are in the process. So I hope that gives you like a clear view of what experience you'll have going through the Buildathon. And if, again, we're sharing too much information, you can always come back to the recording and reference this. So with that, I'll hand it back to Bethany. You can talk us through about the next quest. So we won't demo all the quests. We'll just briefly mention what each is about, and then we'll give you guys some time back because this actually starts today. So you'll actually work on the first quest today. Bethany, over to you.
Yeah, so for the second quest, we can still look at Julia's screen. And for the second quest, it's mainly about you being able to move now from your local prototype into now a more advanced, more production-ready prototype. Like, for example, if you want to deploy and share it with your friends, you can do so on Azure AI Foundry. So for this, we have a simple button. You'll see it once you get to the step where just when you're on GitHub models, you just click use in production, and you'll be able to now go in and use Azure AI Foundry in production. What it will do is it will deploy a model in Azure AI Foundry for you, a new project based on the GitHub models you selected, and then you can be able to use it in production. So the thing is, when you're building with Azure AI Foundry, of course, you need Azure. And there are two ways to be able to get access to Azure. We have a free Azure for Students resource where you don't need a credit card. You just go in and log in into Azure for Students and get access to it. And then the second thing is you can also be able to do the free trial for Azure. It's a 30-day free trial. I'm not sure if it requires a credit card, but the end goal is you'll be able, it does, right?
Yes, yeah.
So you'll need a credit card, and it will take you about $200 for you to now get started and build the application. That will be what you'll get in the free trial. I don't think you need the entire $200 for this, but you'll be able to do that. And then the second thing is for this, when you're using Azure AI Foundry, you'll realize you'll be creating a .env file where you store in your keys and credentials from Azure. So one thing you should not is ensure you do not commit secret and private keys into your GitHub repository. We already have a gitignore file that we've already established, and it will ignore your files, but ensure to double check in case the .env file is in a different directory. Ensure to double check to ensure you do not commit your keys and endpoints directly to GitHub. And that's it about the deploy to Azure AI Foundry repo. It's just a simple step-by-step instruction of how you can go from a local prototype to Azure AI Foundry. So Julia, you can talk
Awesome.
about the next step.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you. So if you've noticed so far with these quests, we're taking you on a journey. So we started with, hey, I have not worked with any AI, or I've just been seeing and hearing more about AI, but I haven't actually built something. So where do I start? So that's the first quest, building the local prototype. Then the next step is, of course, you need to scale, right? You need to get to a platform that will allow you to even have some additional services. For instance, do you have the security guardrails in place? Now that's when you come in and move your prototype to Azure. Then the next thing is, up to this point, you will be working with just a script. You'll just be working with a single file with some JavaScript code. Excuse me, and that is what will be running. So the next step will be for you to actually now add a UI for this application. So as I mentioned at the beginning, these quests are actually designed to build on top of what you complete in one quest. So this third quest is for you to add a UI for your application, as you can see here on the screen. So what we're going to do is, instead of you adding this from scratch, so writing code from scratch, we're going to introduce you to the concept of infrastructure as code. We're going to introduce you to a tool called Azure Developer CLI, or AZD for short. This will allow you to just pull some sample template code that will allow you to just add like some placeholders for your application, and then you'll come in and do some modifications to make it work. So you'll see that in the quests. Again, we won't go through each of these quests in depth, but the idea here is that by the time you're done with this quest, you will have a simple chat UI that will be able to interact with this prototype that you've built up to this step. The other thing to mention is that this sample code that we provide is very minimal. It's very simplistic. So we actually challenge all of you to go a step further. So if you see any areas of improvement, ensure that you actually spend some time. You can decide that I want to improve this simple UI, so let me challenge myself. Let me use GitHub Copilot, probably in agent mode, to see how far I can go in terms of improving this UI that I've been given. You can see right now you can only add textual input to the app. You can decide, hey, I want to add an image. How can I do that? I want to add audio input. So you can always just challenge yourself to do more than just what the quest actually asks you to do. And that will be the end of the third quest. So at this point, you have a UI that connects to the prototype that you created. So Bethany, what comes next?
Next is data. I love data. So the next step is called RAG. I'm not sure if we are all familiar with RAG, but the idea behind RAG is most of these LLMs, not even most, all of these LLMs do not have any idea about probably your data. So for example, if you're hosting a study jam and you want to get information on that study jam, an LLM might not have an idea of your study jam even existing. So what you do is you add in external data. And in our case, we use a technique called RAG. RAG is a technique that involves retrieval, augmenting, and generation. So what it does is it goes in, takes data from your own database that you provided, augments it. Augment is basically making something better. So it adds your data plus the prompt and gives you a better generated response. So in this example, we have someone asking, what is our company's mission statement? If it's just a simple chat UI, it will just tell you, yeah, I have no clue what company you're talking about, so I can't even tell you any mission statement. But then if you add in additional data. So next slide. So if you go in and add in, oh yeah, good. So you go in and add in additional data. So it's very, the step is very tiny, where now you're going in and adding in a PDF. And the only thing we've changed in the UI is adding in the PDF on top, where you can just click and add that PDF as a source, right? So what happens is when you're adding in your own data and you ask the same question, it will now give you a response based on your data. And the good thing is it will also add in sources to now tell you this is where exactly I got the data from. And lastly, if you go in and try asking something different, like what is the company's stock price, it will tell you, I have no clue what you're talking about, because the data you added was just an employee handbook that just shows this is what you as an employee should be doing. But we don't want you to use our PDF only. You can customize it to your scenario. So this sample JavaScript code will be based on you adding in a PDF file. So you don't necessarily need to have the handbook PDF. You can use any PDF you want, even probably your study notes, and try and see if you use it and ask the LLM a question, will it be grounded on your data? And in the spirit of just showing you, the next thing we've added is the different resources. And under the resources, we've added like instructions of how, in case you wanted to add in a CSV file, how can you be able to add that, right? So we have resources at the end of each and every request tagged further reading, and you can see from there, it will show you, okay, if you want to add additional CSV files or different ways to be able to add in your files into your JavaScript code using RAG. So you can experiment and try it out. And as Julia mentioned, we are all building on each quest. So the next quest is something similar. So what is the next quest, Julia?
Sure. Thanks, Beth. Before we get there, Bethany mentioned that the sample code provided in this quest handles PDF data, but you can do more than that. So come in with your own data. Perhaps you have that data in CSV format. If you actually scroll down to the further reading section, we have this lesson 5. It's a RAG lesson that has some code that can help you just work with CSV data. So you can actually just expand, as we said before, do more than what is just provided in the quest. So I'll switch back to my slides. And at this point now, you no longer just have an application that can talk to a model, but now you have an application that can now reference your own data through the RAG technique. And the next step is actually quite exciting. This is now when, I'll move to the next slide. So this is now when we get some industry practices come into play. So what do I mean by this? When it comes to building LLM applications, there's a lot of code that you actually need to write behind the scenes to make it work. But now we have these frameworks, AI frameworks, that abstract away some of these complex implementations and make them super, super easy to actually add features to your AI application. So this quest will introduce you to one of these frameworks, LangChain.js. So you will do 2 things in this quest. So number 1, you're going to learn about LangChain.js, a framework that will allow you to abstract away some of those manual implementations. And then you can easily just use the built-in classes to just implement some of these real powerful AI capabilities. And then number 2, on this application that you're building, we're now going to add an extra capability. We're going to add the capability for it to retain the chat history. So up to this point, if you ask that the model through your application, hey, what's my name, after you've just given it your name, it simply just won't know because it's not storing the conversation history. So using LangChain.js, you're actually going to see how easy it can be to tailor and use, as I said, the built-in classes to basically store your chat sessions and have this LLM also reference previous conversations. Just this way, we're making it even smarter. And that's I think it's the 5th. Yeah, should be the 5th quest. And as you can see, we're progressing on just tackling even more and more complex features. So after we do that, we're now done with the AI part of it, just adding like AI capabilities to our chat application. But 2025 was said to be the year of agents. So definitely we do have a lot in store for you when it comes to building AI agents, and I'll let Bethany talk more about this quest.
Yeah, what is interesting is when you're building AI application, the idea is for you to be able to do something for you at the end instead of just having a chat-based interaction with it. And that is where agents come in. So if you've been, let's say you've not been around the AI scene for a while, you might not have no idea what agents are. But if you've been in tech for a while or even starting out, you've seen a couple of automations here and there where now you have, for example, an automated Teams message that every 3 hours or every day something comes to your Teams that is an automation based on what probably you need to know at that point. That is the same scenario with agents, whereby the idea is how can we have AI do something for us? And agents is based on three different things. So the first thing is giving it a bit of knowledge. So you'll have it have some context or some data for you. Not necessarily, but it's important for you for it to now be able to reason through and make action based on that. The other thing is adding tools, and we'll technically only cover one tool, which is the Bing tool. Bing is a tool that will help you now be able to go in through the internet and give you responses on that. So we'll add in the Bing tool to now for you to be able to now go in and look at the internet and come up with the responses for you. And then the last thing is for an AI agent to be complete, it has to have AI. So you need that LLM for it. In our case, I think we'll be using GPT-4o to be able to now have the LLM take that action. Once you have those three components, the next thing is now having the LLM do something. So for example, our example is just telling us the weather. So it's using Bing to be able to now go in and tell us the real-time weather of Nairobi or different locations you're in. But you can do more, right? You can think outside the box. You can try and see if I want to add in probably an Azure function or add in logic apps into my application. How can I be able to do that? Or if you can be able to bring in different APIs. So for example, you can use the GitHub API to do something for you, right? And then the other bit is you can also be able to think about something called MCP. I'm not 100% familiar with it, but Julia, tell us a bit more about MCP.
Sure, absolutely. Before I get there, something else to mention is what Bethany just described. I mean, you building an agent, you're actually doing this on VS Code, given that you have this new AI Foundry VS Code extension. So you'll actually see the whole process and you're working directly on your IDE. You don't need to be committed on Azure to actually build this. You'll be using this extension, and we're really excited to see you guys interact with this extension. Give us your feedback in terms of how that can be improved. As Bethany also mentioned, we can also not afford to not talk about MCP, given that that is also a concept that took the whole internet by storm. So definitely you might not have had a chance to actually build your first MCP server. And that is what this is. So at this point, you've now gone through the process of creating and designing an agent. Now this quest specifically will allow you to build a local agent using the AI Toolkit extension, another incredible extension that just brings this whole AI experience right there on your IDE. And then you're going to build an MCP server using the official TypeScript SDK, MCP TypeScript SDK. So if you've not had a chance to go through any practicals with MCP, this is a really good starting point. And the example that we provide in the quest is that you'll build an agent, allow it to connect to an MCP server that gives it access to your operating system. So it's able to give you some information about the operating system that you're running on. And basically that will help you just have this overall understanding of what MCP is and how it works. Again, another very relevant concept when it comes to the industry. I know we are almost about out of time, so we'll just quickly go through the remaining quests. I think this is the second last, and then we'll share the next steps for you with all the links that you need to get started. So Bethany, could you just briefly talk through this? I think this is the second last one.
Yeah, this is the 8th quest, and it's interesting because it's just you being able to write a script using GenAIScript. In In this step, you only need your GitHub model. So you'll use the same token you used in the first step. And this step is just showing you how you can be able to now have a script interact with the model and do something, right? So for our script, we've given it some instruction. It's going to review code for us. And the code it's going to review is the code that we stage. So for example, I went in and I was able to go through and create a new script for myself. And I was like, okay, can I commit this script? And I clicked on commit, and I didn't commit. I did git add, where now you're staging your changes. And I asked the code review, okay, can you go in and look at the stage changes and see what I might be able to fix? So in the next slide, you'll see the reply it gave me. So in the next slide, it shows one, the review of the different code changes. I'm not sure you can be able to see it very clearly, but once you do the quest, you'll be able to see the review. And it's telling me I've added some different components to git ignore. Was that okay? And I'm like, okay, yeah, it was, because it has my .env file and everything. And then the next review is it's telling me this is what your code is doing. This is what each and every step is doing. Probably these are some of the recommendations of things you can be able to do with a code. And that is just a simple way to use GenAIScript to come in and have it review code for you. And for GenAIScript, it's an extension on Azure, on VS Code. And as I've said, the only thing you need to do with GenAIScript is add in your GitHub code token and try and think of different scenarios. Okay, it can review my code. What else can it do right there on VS Code or even outside VS Code? Yeah, and that is our eighth step.
Yeah. Question, Bethany. What you're showing on this slide, so is this what we will be building for this quest? Will we be actually building like an AI pull request reviewer?
Yes, so it just goes in and checks, okay, these are probably things you've committed, you've staged, I mean. So once you do git add, it stages your changes. So it goes in and looks at the changes you've made and gives you like, okay, this is the review I have for you. So can you look at this? And then it will now be up to you to reason with it and see, okay, maybe I need to change before I commit my changes to GitHub.
Nice. Yeah. That's great. That's great. So you've never heard of GenAIScript before, like me. You're like me and you've never really heard of this tool before. This is your chance. What I love about it is the syntax is very relatable to JavaScript developers. So you can see it's kind of putting everything together for you, the prompt, the interaction with the LLM. So really, really excited to get to see you guys interact with this new tool. So the last question.
Before we go to the last quest, I need to shout out to Johan because he's the one who created the GenAIScript quest. So yeah, thank you so much, Johan. And yeah, back to you, Julia.
Yeah. And I'm sure he'll also be on our AI Discord channel, so you can always interact with him as well. So on to the last quest. Once you're done with all these different quests, as you've seen, the whole idea is to introduce you to a concept, have you build something, then give you resources to actually dig deeper into those specific concepts. But then this last quest is to now challenge you, right? This last quest will give you access to a list of available AI templates. So at the end of the day, for you to build a complete end-to-end AI system, that will take you time, that will take you resources. So this quest will introduce you to what we're calling the AI template gallery or the AZD template gallery. These two galleries, and I can actually just switch to my browser. So the first gallery is the AI template gallery. As you can see, and as the name implies, this is a list of end-to-end samples that have been created. I've already filtered down to JavaScript and TypeScript samples. So as you can see, we have different implementations. This is fully functioning production-ready code that is ready for you to just pull, customize for your use case, and then use in whatever way you'd want to use it. So this is a good way for you to get started. Since, as I said, it does take a lot of time to piece all the different services together to connect this to work, especially for production scenarios. So you can actually come in here. The quest will guide you in terms of how to access these templates. We have two, the AI app templates gallery, and we also have the awesome AZD templates gallery. As you can see, we have very many use cases. So from this quest, what you will do, you will basically just, let me just go to the quest itself. you basically just think of a problem that matters to you. So this could be a local problem, a societal problem, personal problem, something that can be fixed, or something that you can build like an AI solution for it. And then browse through the template galleries and select or find a template that is very close to what you're looking to implement. Then each template has the instructions on how to set up. So at this point, you'll be working and following the different instructions provided for in the template that you're going to select. And then you're going to go in there and customize it to fit your needs. Now, the beauty of this is most of them are actually quite bulky. So like you'll get a full repo with very many folders, very many files. But if you go through the quest that you have provided, you'll actually now have a better understanding of what each of those files or folders mean. So this way you'll be able to easily just go in there, customize it. You can use GitHub Copilot to sort of help you understand more about the project. And then you're going to push that. You're going to push that on GitHub. And then you have this final step where you can submit that as an issue for it to be upvoted by the community. So anyone on this call, by the time you get into the 30th of June, you might have built a really incredible solution or project. So what you're going to do is right here on the repository. So this is the main repository that you will all land on. You can actually go to the issues section, create a new issue, and then we've provided this issue template. So you can come in here and just quickly describe the solution that you've built. Tell us more about how you approached it. If you have a link to a live demo, link to your repository, and then basically just give us like a quick pitch of why we should upvote this. So here's an example of a similar submission. So you come in here, give us the name of your project, give us just a summary of what it does. And then basically towards the end, you can ask your peers, your friends to come in and upvote your project. And then every week will be, or after 30th of June, we'll basically just be sharing like a small leaderboard of which project is the most upvoted from the community. So that's like an exciting way to ensure that the amazing work that you all build actually gets to the community, and we're so excited to see what you'll all build. So with that, we'll get to the end of our presentation by sharing what's next. So Bethany, take it away.
First of all, it's a lot of things we've covered, and we know at the end you'll have done a lot of work. So what we want to do is once you're done, we need to celebrate, right? We need to have a celebration. We'll have a closing ceremony, yes. But then even you as an individual, once you're done with the project, we'll have a celebration by awarding you a badge. So we have two types of badges. The troop leader is for our students who are hosting a study jam. So if you're a student ambassador, you can reach out to us on Teams. You're both on the student ambassador tenant. If you want to host an event, you can just reach out to us. We'll have badges for you. And then, of course, for you as a participant, once you go in through all the quests and build, we'll also be awarding you with a badge. All the instructions of the badges will be added at the end of the different quests once you're done with the finish. And then things to note. This is like 8 different things that you need to remember. If you don't remember, yeah, you can just come back and refer to this call. Number 1 is the split screen. It's better if you're able to use both, to use your screen as two, right? To use, like, for example, right now I have my StreamYard here and I have my YouTube on the same screen, where you can now have the instructions to your GitHub README and then also have your code on the other side. Number 2 is the security practices. I already mentioned, if you have your .env file with the different codes, ensure you do not commit it to GitHub. So ensure before you push your commits to GitHub, ensure you check through what you're committing, and do not have any private keys in your GitHub commits. You can do that even using GitHub Copilot. Ask it, okay, is there anything I need to check before I commit? Yeah, it will help you. The other thing is we have Azure for Students, which is free for students. You have $100 annually, and then we have the Azure free trial. You can use both of them to your advantage. Ensure you use them and build with them. because it's very helpful for you to be able to implement what you learn. And then the fourth thing is when you're using GitHub Copilot, try out agent mode. It's very fast and seamless. It will help you go in and help you do code for you and be able to explain things that you probably might not have caught before. So try out agent mode. You can still use the ask and edit modes, but yes, go in and try out agent mode. Try the different capabilities of GitHub Copilot. You get it for free as students, and then if you're using VS Code, even if you're not a student, you get GitHub Copilot as well for free. We also recommend for you to do the quests in order. As you've seen, the one are building on top of each other, and the further you go through the quest, the more complex it gets. So ensure you do them in order for you to be able to have the solid foundation before now you go into the harder bits. Work from the README. We have a disclaimer at the start of every quest where once you go into the next quest, first of all, ensure you pull in your changes, because once you complete a quest, the README is updated. So ensure you do git pull fast before you go in and work on the next step. And then as you're building, ensure you refer to the README. They have step-by-step instructions, so this will be very handy for you. And then for each quest, as we shared, we have a further reading for each quest. It has the further reading section. All these show you like what resources are there, what can you be able to do other than just what you've implemented in the quest. So ensure you read through that. And the beauty of the resources is it helps you now go in and experiment with more. So if you want to, probably as we mentioned in the rack section, if you want to work with CSVs, if you want to do more than just what you implemented in the sample code, the resources will be there for you. And the last bit is, this is very important. I feel it should have been like number one or like in red. Once you do your project and you're done, ensure you delete any resources you deploy, because once you have Azure resources deployed, they need to be deleted to ensure it does not deplete your credits. Yeah, so over to you, Julia, as you wrap up, because I've had so many people asking, where can we chat? Where can we
Yeah.
meet from
Yeah.
here? Yeah.
A lot of questions about where to find all the links. We admit and we agree with you. We've shared so much information. And so thanks, Bethany, for walking us through these 8 really key steps. This will definitely set you up for success. So right now you're probably wondering, where do I go next? How do I get started? So we are on Discord. We have a Discord, a specific dedicated Discord channel for these conversations. So we have the link that is on the screen. It has been shared on the chat, and you can scan this QR code as well. This will take you to the AI Foundry Discord channel. And if it's the first time you're joining this channel, this server, you will get a pop-up asking you, hey, you've joined this server, what do you want to do? Just scroll down and select you want to join the JS AI Build-a-thon, and that will take you directly to our channel, as you can see here, where I've seen that we have some of you already in the channel as well. As you can see, we have people already introducing themselves. So come in here, introduce yourself, drop links to your GitHub, to your LinkedIn. Let's connect. And then we mentioned that we have study jumps. So we'll also have some daily conversations. So if you're stuck at any given point, that is where you need to go for any conversations, any questions. We'll have experts come in to take any questions that you have. So ensure that you're on Discord and that you're checking frequently for any program updates that we have. Then on top of that, we have a study guide. There's someone who asked, hey, do we have a timeline for each of the quests that you're providing? So yes, we do have a recommended timeline. So this is also linked from the resources that will be shared. It's on the same repository actually, but we have a study guide. In this study guide, you'll basically get all the information we've shared with you today, as well as a table with the timelines, so with the dates for each quest. And then for each quest, expect to receive a blog and a video guideline as well. This will be updated per the date that is on the corresponding on the corresponding quest. So for example, today is June 9th. The quest you need to complete is the building the local GenAI prototype. And this will take you directly to the blog, which will walk you through what you need to do to complete this quest. So this is where you actually go back to check, see if you're aligned with the dates. If you're working in study jams, think of them as discussions. At the end of the day, by June 30th, we want to have all completed these projects so that we can celebrate all the amazing stuff that we have built. Then there was another question about the study jams. So again, if you go back on the main repository, we do have a section here at the bottom called Get Help. And here you'll find a list of all the available study jams. So these study jams are listed in terms of the country and time zone. So you can come in, find a time zone that works for you. Some don't have English as their first language. So if there's also that language barrier, you can find a community that is next to you and that you'll be able to comfortably work together with. So that's basically what we have. That's the study guide. Ensure you go through it. And then, as I mentioned, we have so many study jams. We have so many community-led events that will be going on between now and June 30th. So ensure you find a study jam, connect with the leads on our Discord. And yeah, if you feel like, hey, I have this community of developers, I want to bring them in, work with them as a group, you can just send us a message and we can work with you to get it set up. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Where you go to get started is this one link. This link will take you to the main repository that we have been showing you throughout. And basically, this is where you'll find like a link to all that we have discussed. On top of this, ensure that you join us on Discord. This way we can have that conversation, we can have that community around what we're building. If you like the repo as well, ensure that you give us a star. Bethany, have we left out anything? Do you feel like there's a question from the chat that we should address before we wrap up?
There's one question from Rainy who's asking per quest, how much time should you dedicate to like each quest? Yeah, so I'm not sure. For me, I guess for the earlier quest, it may take even 30 minutes, but then the more complex it gets, it can get up to 1 hour, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's
so I think it depends. Yeah, it
Yeah.
also depends because, as you mentioned, you can get through a quest in, say, 30 minutes and you're done because we've provided like the code snippets and everything. But now this depends with how you want to learn. For example, I'm a huge fan of using GitHub Copilot to learn. So if I find a piece of code, I'm being asked to add this to my application and I don't really know how this works, how it's supposed to work, I just use Copilot to help me explain or just to expound on further concepts. So if you factor in your learning style as you're going through these quests, I'd say that fairly giving it an hour to just go through all the resources. And then, as we keep saying, the real value is in the resource section. So if you're going through this as part of a study jam, you can also share this with your group leads. Ensure that we have some speaker materials as well that are shared on the blogs. So you can also decide that, hey, let's have a session to, let's say, tackle RAG as a concept, and then go through the resources. We have amazing samples. Then take some time to just, dig deeper into these concepts. So I would say this would vary. You can easily get through the quests and move on with your life, but the whole idea is this should spark that interest and then give you that quick hands-on experience. And then from there, you can now build on top of the different resources that you get. I hope that answers your question, but yeah, I think generally it just depends on how you choose to approach the quests. Let me see. I see we have suggestions for virtual pizzas. It's good. But if you're meeting in local study jams, you never know, anything is possible. So please share these ideas. Are you spotting any other question?
No. Oh, so there's someone asking whether we'll get credits for the quest. I'm guessing.
So if you're a student, you can use the Azure for Students offering. That will give you some free credits, I think, which renew every single month. If you're not a student, you can sign up for the Azure free account. That will give you some $200 credits to consume within 30 days, which is enough for the quest. But we will not be providing any Azure credits for this program.
Yeah, maybe I can also add, for the most part, some of the sessions are just using GitHub models, which you just need your GitHub account to access. For the first, I'm guessing it's for the fast quest, as well as when you're using the extensions like the AI tool extension, you also do not need to have your Azure account. So it's not all the quests that you need Azure, but yeah, you will need, for you to complete the entire thing, you'll need to have Azure. And you can access using the students as well as the free trial account.
Yeah. Cool. Seeing a question here, how do we register from France? So just to clarify, we have two approaches. So we have the study jam. So this is optional. If you feel like, hey, I want to join a group of people going through the same program, probably can have some discussions. That's totally fine. But the Buildathon is also designed for you to come in and have that self-paced learning experience. So if you feel like I want to join any study jam, you can also completely do this on your own. We have the study guide that I briefly walked you through that has all the timelines. It links to all the resources, so you can completely do this on your own. Then the other thing to mention is for the study jams, we have them per country, but it's not just restricted to folks who reside in that country. So you might actually decide, hey, I want to collaborate with someone from Sri Lanka, for example. I see there's a study jam there. I can sign up and join. So feel free to join whichever study jam you are interested in. The whole idea was to at least cover as many time zones as possible, so that if you have an urgent question, you're not having to wait for us to wake up, but you have a group that is right next to you that you can have conversations with and with in real time. Then again, there's the language barrier as well. So if perhaps English is not your first language, you can always interact with a local community that speaks your language. So I hope that answers your question. I know we're way over time, so thank you all so much for sticking around with us. Apologies again for the technical issues we had at the beginning, but I hope at this point it's clear in terms of what steps you need to take. We've given you like just a sneak peek of the experience you'll have. There's someone who's asking for a recording of us doing the first quest. So good news, we've already done that. We've already published the blog. So be on the lookout. We'll update that blog with a video. So that will also help you just have a better understanding of what to do. But in the interest of time, allow us to not do that again right now. But this session is also being recorded, so you can always come back and just revisit some of the steps that we walked through. All right. Do you think we should address anything else? Or, as I said, we're on Discord. So actually, as soon as we wrap up this session, let's all just meet on Discord.
Yeah, let's meet on Discord. If you haven't signed up on Discord, make sure you sign up. All the links, everything will be found on the aka.ms/JS AI Build-a-thon. Everything you need will be there. So yeah, don't worry. Even the Discord is also there. Yeah.
Yes. And I've just scrolled back to the Discord one in case it got lost at some point. So yeah, you can definitely have this link handy. This is where you can ask any question anytime, interact with the community, share your projects, share your ideas. We'll be happy to help out. So I think with that, we won't keep you guys for so long. Thank you all so much for joining. Have a great June building AI apps with JavaScript, and yeah, happy coding. I think we can declare it officially launched.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Should have done that at the beginning, but it's fine.